There is trouble in dreamland, okay? There's trouble in the wonderful world of Walt Disney World. Let me know, chat. Have you ever been to Disney World? You ever been? You got any fond memories? I know lots of people have gone and lots of people have very fond memories, especially when they were in baby mode being taken by their parents or somebody or a friend or something to Disney World. No, I'm poor. Very true. Almost drowned? Dang. That's unfortunate. Get well soon. Get well soon. Trying to go with a friend. It looks fun. It is quite fun. It is quite fun, and definitely. All right. And Walt Disney World's been around for a very long time, over just about 60 years now. All right. And that place is obviously what we lovingly call Caled, Florida, Orlando specifically. But even more specific than that, it's not even necessarily a part of Orlando, and it's not a part of Orange County either, that you may have heard of it. Everybody, like, you guys know Orange County, right? There's a couple of Orange counties around the country, one in California, one in Florida, but Orange County, Florida, a lot of people have heard of it, okay? But there's trouble in Disney World because of Republicans. Now, I say this all the time. Elected Republicans are some of the dumbest people among us. And I don't say that just because I hate them or I'm racist towards Republicans or something. I hope to prove it to you here that they are some of the absolute dumbest humans that walk among us. Okay? It is very true. So if you haven't been keeping up, what's been going on in Florida has been, they recently passed a bill. You remember, it's lovingly being called the Don't Say Gay bill. And Disney made a pretty whatever statement, a pretty throwaway statement saying that they don't support bills that limit people's freedom and attack people based on their identity, gender, whatever, right? They said something really simple. But what they didn't take into account was Republicans throwing a massive hissy fit over it. And when I say massive hissy fit, I mean they've been molding about that one singular statement for weeks now. And they decided to act on that because they pushed through a bill recently that attacked Disney World, one of the only reasons why a normal human being would ever go to Florida. Truly. And so I felt the same way you do. This is like two slurs fighting. Okay. Let them fight. Who cares? And still, I feel that way. But I gotta tell you, this highlights one of the most hilarious fumbling that I've ever seen a politician do. This is shooting yourself in the foot. Not only with a gun, you picked up a minigun, you ripped it off of its stand, you pointed it straight downwards and obliterated your feet. You have no feet anymore. You turned your little piggies into ground beef. Okay, that type bad. And if you don't believe me, let's get into it. All right. And the best place to start for how this became an issue, because this mistake that the Republicans, that Ron DeSantis pushed through, is going to cost the Florida taxpayers upwards of $1 billion. If it stays the way that it does, it's going to cost them $1 billion. And that's the minimum. That's the floor. Okay. So how did we get here? Before we talk about what could possibly happen in the future, I want to talk about what happened in the past. And so let's talk about that. You know about Disney World, but you probably don't know about Reedy Creek. All right. Now, Reedy Creek is its own special district. Imagine Reedy Creek as its own special county. All right. That allows Disney to do basically whatever they want. I could explain it for you, but the Wall Street Journal did a great video on it a couple of days ago, and we can just have them explain a little bit about it for you.
The Reedy Creek Improvement District was created in 1967, but the idea for it came after Walt Disney first identified the land that would be Disney World.
As you can see on this map, we have a perfect location in Florida.
What Walt wanted to do was two things. Number one, he wanted to have more control over who his neighbors were and what kind of businesses would spring up around the new Florida resorts in Walt Disney World. And number two, he wanted to get it done quickly.
Disney World opened in 1971, just 4 years after the creation of Reedy Creek, making it the first attraction in what is now a sprawling vacation land of 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, a sports complex, hotels, stores, and restaurants.
And that's a lot to take care of, okay? That amount of infrastructure with millions of people going through it is a lot to take care of, okay? And so Walt had a plan, all right? They wanted control to make sure that they have a cohesive experience throughout the entire park. Florida wanted Disney's business, okay? It's the final level of capitalism, okay? Yeah, the final level of capitalism. So like what they did was they went to the legislature and they said, hey, listen, you know, we know you want our business. We want to put Disney World here. Let's strike a deal. And so what happened is that the legislature passed through a law back in 1967 to build, to zone out Reedy Creek. And Reedy Creek and the laws that go with it is gives Disney World the ability to self-govern. Basically, unironically, when you walk onto Disney World, you're basically walking into another state. Yeah, there's a, you know, when it comes to law enforcement, not necessarily, but for all intents and purposes, for like infrastructure, for like taxes, for waste management, water management, disaster management, fires, for health issues, for all of that type of stuff, Disney pays for it. It is kind of like a company town. Literally, Disney pays for it, and they do it quite efficiently. Okay? And so, listen, they control all of that. They pay for it, and that's been in place for better part of like 60 years. Okay? And that's being done away with recently. But that's a problem. DeSantis recently signed this bill that took away their self-governing status and dissolved Reedy Creek into basically Orange County and surrounding counties. But we'll just talk about Orange County mainly when this goes into place, right? And so it's not as easy as you think, because when that wasn't the only part of the deal that the government signed with Disney. Another part of the deal was that they were that Disney wanted to build like this, you know, this massive park, but you can't just throw a bunch of money at it. Just like companies, Disney had to take on some debt to do something as massive as Disney World. So they needed lenders. But the lenders were worried because they didn't know what the government was going to do in the future when it comes to Disney World. And they don't want to lose their money. They don't want the government to like come in and think some random thing and then completely change Reedy Creek. And then boom, all of a sudden Disney isn't able to do this and that. And they took out their loan and they're not going to be able to get it back. Okay, so you don't want that to happen. So the government, the legislature signed a promise. This is a legally binding promise. They said to the lenders, we will not touch Reedy Creek. We will not change Disney's self-governing status at all. Not a single period, comma, word, or anything. Nothing will change in this deal at the moment that they signed it, and they signed it back in 1967. And fast forward to 2022, guess what? It changed. But it gets worse, okay? So what happened is that between that time, Disney was racking up debt. Obviously, they were building stuff, they were growing the business, they were building out Disney World. It's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Ever since it came into fruition, it's only got larger. And Disney World in Reedy Creek takes up about 40 square miles. Which is a massive area. And they plan to cover every single inch of it with Disney stuff. So they took out loans. Now you may be wondering to yourself, Shark, you may be asking me, Comrade Shark, they took out a lot of debt. How much debt? $1 million? $10 million? 100? 200 million? They took out right now, as we're talking about this, Disney has an outstanding debt with lenders of just shy of $1 billion. Okay? And that $1 billion, and every single cent of that $1 billion was promised by lenders to be given to Disney on the condition that that Reedy Creek's district will not change at all. Now, you may start to see that there's a little bit of a problem here. Okay, there's a little bit of a problem going on at the moment. Okay, because when those bonds were given out, okay, when those bonds were being given out, the interest rate was way lower back in the day. It's, you guys, if you've grown up, you've noticed that interest rates have been spiking recently, haven't they? Interest rates have gone up a lot, and Disney has been paying, those taxes. They think it's very nice. And some of you guys may be wondering, Disney is a huge company. They're a multinational conglomerate. How do they have that much debt? The thing is, the debt that you have, the debt that I have, the debt that your average citizen has, is not the same debt that a company has or that a state has, or, like a country has. A country or business being in debt sometimes is a good thing. Disney wants to be in debt. Here's why. Because their lenders, they want to be able to have a good credit score. Remember, you can't have a good credit score without credit. So you need debt to be able to get more, to be able to, buy things, to be able to have people want to lend money to you. Okay. And so over there, so that's one reason. But another reason is that the lenders have a vested interest in Disney's success. When Disney does well, guess what? They get, Disney is able to pay the interest on those bonds. And guess what? When Disney is able to pay the interest on those bonds and have more money and they have more business, they want to grow. And so when they grow, they need to lend. And guess who they're going to lend from? The people who they have a relationship already. All right. And so that's just good. Disney wants to keep building and keep wanting to get money. The lenders keep wanting Disney to pay and keep borrowing more. And so it's beneficial in that sense. So them holding debt has been good, but states holding debt in a lot of these cases is not. If you didn't know, the state of Florida doesn't print their own money. There's not DeSantis dollars in Florida. So they can't be in debt. They have to get bailed out by the Fed if anything happens like that. And guess what? Florida can't really take on that kind of debt. But don't worry, Florida as the state won't really be paying that debt. You know who's going to be paying that debt? Orange County and the surrounding counties. When Reedy Creek was cut out of Orange County and surrounding counties, that means it's going to be dissolved into Orange County and surrounding counties. So that debt that the government broke their promise on is not going to fall on Disney. That's going to fall on taxpayers. Just some random person living in Orange County is going to be saddled with $1 billion in debt. And guess what? Another part of that deal that they signed with the government is that Disney paid special property taxes for having Reedy Creek. And guess how much they were paying? Almost $200 million a year to the government of Florida for those property taxes. Guess what happens when Reedy Creek gets dissolved? Riddle me this, Batman. How do you pay property taxes for a district that doesn't exist? You don't. You can't. They gave Disney a $160 million tax break in property taxes, as well as unsaddling them from $1 billion in debt. But don't worry, it gets worse. It keeps getting worse. So random taxpayers are going to be saddled with all of this money, as well as all of the infrastructure and logistics around Disney World. Because remember, Disney World runs its own fire department. If anything goes wrong, they have their own security. They have their own water management, waste management. Now those counties are going to have to foot the bill for that. That's another couple $10 million. So that's another possibly $30 million that a regular ass county is going to have to take up overnight. And you may be thinking, Shark, but hey, listen, $1 billion in bonds, that's a lot, but listen, Disney was paying interest on that. That's just debt, you just, pay your monthly credit card bill. It's just like that. No, it's not like that. About 25% of these bonds are bonds that if the contract is broken, are going to have to be paid back immediately. On the second that this contract breaks, Orange and surrounding counties are going to have to pay back immediately, minimum $250 million. And it only goes up from there. Now, you're thinking to yourself, hey, I mean, that sucks, but hey, they can get back those property taxes by just taxing Disney more. Well, no, they can't, because state law prohibits taxing one place in a county over another place in a county. So guess what? Disney's property taxes can't go up. You can't increase just Disney's property taxes. To pay for that debt, they're going to have to increase everybody's property taxes. And you may be wondering to yourself, how much are they going to have to do that? The answer is minimum 25%. So if you live in the Orange and surrounding counties districts and you pay property taxes, when this goes into effect next year, you're going to pay, and analysts say that they're going to be paying minimum $2,300 to up to $3,000 more per year in property taxes, specifically because of this massive fumbling by the Republicans. Now, this feels like something that could have been taken care of. You may be wondering to yourself, Shark, the representatives for Orange County must have said something, right? Like, this passed through the state legislature. They have a representative in the state legislature, right? Why didn't their representative say anything? Why didn't the representative do anything? Because if you didn't know, this bill is public. This bill is 2 pages long, and the first page is the title page. So it's basically a single page to deal with over $1 billion worth of debt and property taxes that it's going to be like sloshing around. There is no way that they put anything in the bill. There's not a single thing in the bill that says anything about how any of these logistics around Disney World, one of the largest theme parks on the planet, is going to be dealt with overnight by just a single county or 2 counties. So you may be wondering, Shark, why didn't their representative do anything? The reason is they don't have a representative. Orange County doesn't have a representative in the state legislature right now. Remember, the way that this bill passed is because DeSantis used his gubernatorial power to push through a special session. The legislature shouldn't have even been in session. They should have gone back to their districts. But he said that there's going to be a special session that they are going to be considering this bill. And guess what? The Orange County representative resigned at the end of the normal session. So when the special session got put into place, they didn't have a representative in Tallahassee. That's where their legislature is. They didn't have a representative in Tallahassee to advocate for them or say anything about why this is going to fuck them over. No representation, and their property taxes are going to raise by 25%. Insane shit, is it not? Insane shit. Okay? And you may be thinking, why didn't any of the other Republicans think of anything along these lines? Well, as I said earlier, Republicans are stupid. And I will tell you this now, they did not read anything that was in that bill. They honestly just saw easy brownie points. The governor said that this is something that we're going to do, and they all lined up and they all just voted for it. Every single last one of them. And they didn't care about anything that was really in the bill. They didn't. DeSantis didn't even really care about what was in the bill because this isn't a bill to do something good. You may be wondering, right? You may be wondering, like, this is a lot to go through. Did Disney like abuse their power, having all of that power being like to self-govern? No, not really. Did they screw over the surrounding areas? No, not really. The only bad thing that really happened is that property taxes went up because Walt Disney World is very profitable. And so obviously the rent and taxes in the air, rent and prices in the area skyrocket because a lot of tourists go there. And there's going to be a lot of people buying stuff in the area. They didn't do anything. They did this for the sole reason of just punishing Disney because they were mad that Disney gave the slightest pushback on their Don't Say Gay bill. But don't take my word for it. Take this man's word for it. The man who pushed through and sponsored the bill in the House, and how he talked about the reason for why this bill went into effect.
When you kick the hornet's nest, other issues often percolate. That happens in the Florida legislature. So when all of this ruckus happened with the parental rights and education bill, we actually started taking a look at special districts, and we realized 6 of them had been established before the Florida Constitution was put in place, and they had all sorts of funky things going on with them. So we decided we would take a look at it and solve the problem.
Disney kicked the hornet's nest. That's something that I will 100% agree on the Republicans on. They are bugs. They are insects, and they are stupid, just as hornets. Hornets are known for being profoundly stupid, and they only do one thing when their nest is kicked. They get mad and they sting, and that's it. And that's the only reason for why this bill got pushed through the legislature. And it's the only reason for why they decided to punish Disney, is because they are bugs. As simple as. Just a coordinated effort from a hive of bugs mad that they didn't get their way. That's it. That's how they just explain it. That's how they just explain it. So they fumbled the ball this hard just because they were mad. Are hornets known for being stupid? Yes. They are very stupid. They literally only know one thing. Nest, shake, must, sting, yes, nest, shake, stop, shake, nest, sting. Must sting. That's it. Their one move is just like freaking out. Right? So there it is. That's it. And if you're wondering how much of this, like how bad this would be, Florida's operating budget, so their total revenue outside of paying for things that they need to get paid for is only $6.3 billion. So this would be like 1/6. So this is over the amount that the state is going to have to pay is over 1/6 of the play money that they have to work with per year, per fiscal cycle. All right. That's it. That's just it. All right. This is an incredibly stupid thing to do. And the thing is, it doesn't even punish Disney that much. The funniest thing about it is that Disney funded a lot of these Republicans. If you remember, Disney doesn't care about like social justice or wokeness or anything. They don't care about any of those things. They're just a company. All they care about is making money. And if it doesn't make money, it don't make sense. Okay? So they funded almost all Republicans who were sitting in office in the legislature at the moment. They gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to DeSantis's campaign when he was running back in 2018. They gave them, they paid him money to be in office because they knew Republicans, conservatives would give them an easy break when it comes to them being able to do basically whatever they want, and give them, sweet, honeypot business deals. That's what Republicans do. They're known for shifting money away from the poor into companies. That's just what they do. And so it's incredible watching these two parasites, right, which are the Republicans and these companies, used to have like a cute symbiotic relationship. Yeah, it's hyper-parasitism at the moment. They used to have a cute symbiotic relationship where the companies pay for the re-election campaigns, and the Republicans give them sweet tax deals, and that's basically how Florida runs, right? But now, because of like because of the social radicalization of the right wing, they've broken those honeypot deals, and now the only person that really pays at the end of the day, once again, is your average American taxpayer, and they didn't even have any say about how it was going to go in the first place. That is incredible. That is truly mind-boggling to me. So when I saw this story, I was like, we need to cover this, because there is no way, shape, or form that I could let something like this slide when it's so insanely, profoundly stupid to do this to their state. And he all did it for anti-woke brownie points, and because he may want to run for president in 2024. That's just it. Wild shit.